Last year, I reviewed the Boox Air4 C, and it quickly became my favorite e-ink tablet, mainly because the others I tried, like the Remarkable tablets or the Kindles, are all closed systems. You're stuck using the software that they come with, and the Remarkable, great hardware, and the Kindle gives you full access to the Amazon ecosystem, but I really like having full Android running on one of these e-ink tablets. And that's what you get with the Boox Air4 C. Boox sells a lot of e-ink tablets, and this is one of the better ones in their lineup with a color e-ink screen, and it includes a pen. By the way, my name is Brad. I like tech that I can draw on, which is why I'm taking a look at this device here today. Now, this is an Android tablet. So it's got a little spec bump under the hood from last year's version. Now we're dealing with a Snapdragon 690 processor, 6 gigabytes of RAM, and 64 gigabytes of storage. Right off the bat, almost half the storage of this device is taken up by apps and the operating system. The good news is, with a device like this, you don't necessarily need a ton of storage space, and if you do need more than what's available, there's a micro SD card slot along the side, so you can add more yourself. For me, this isn't the kind of device where I'm going to be pouring a lot of pictures onto it or making movies or even loading up games, because the screen doesn't really facilitate that kind of content. So I personally don't need a ton of storage. Now, the star of the show is that e-ink display. So if you're new to this type of device, it's a lot different than your phone or your laptop screen. Those have a refresh rate of 60 frames per second. Some have 120 frames per second. So the animation and video that you're watching is super smooth. This does not have a refresh rate, at least a conventional refresh rate like what you're used to on your phone. That is by design, and there's some pros and cons to it. So the screen on your phone is the part that uses the most energy. It's the part that drains the battery. But here on an e-ink screen, without that battery drain, this thing can last for weeks and weeks and weeks. In fact, it's not uncommon for me to review one of these, turn it off, stick it in my desk drawer, come back 3 months later and have it still boot up on that battery charge. Now, there is a backlight on this screen. That's really nice. So if you want to read in low light environments or that sort of thing, you can do that. But it's also worth noting that if you do keep that backlight on when you're using it, this battery is going to drain much, much faster than it does otherwise. When you refresh the screen, it is choppy because it's not really designed for that kind of smoothness. Many screens like this one are black and white, but this e-ink screen is color. It is not a vibrant color. This is very subdued. You can tell that there's color on here, but they look kind of faded. This isn't sharp and punchy. This is about as far from like an OLED display as you're gonna get. But since you don't have to worry about like color accuracy and that sort of thing, you can put like a rougher textured surface on it, which is something I really like because the stylus experience feels so much better on a rougher surface than it does on a smooth glass screen. But more on that in a minute. This is not something that excels at video watching or social media consumption, but for reading books, taking notes, it's great. For a lot of you regular viewers here who are looking for a device where you can make your like finished high quality artwork on it, I would point you more towards like XP Pen's latest Android offerings or maybe Samsung's Galaxy Tab line, as opposed to going the e-ink route. But as a durable little mobile sketchbook that you don't have to worry about the battery dying on, this might be worth a look. I should also mention it would work great with my Learn to Draw in 60 Days course, a drawing class designed for people who are just getting into art and want to learn some of the basics for a fun hobby, or just to learn some sketching techniques to jazz up their note-taking. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can learn all about the course over on my website, bradsartschool.com, link down below in the description. So, drawing on this tablet, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. First off, the hardware, fantastic. I love this pen. It is a Wacom-powered stylus, similar to the Samsung S Pen. In fact, the S Pen does work on this tablet because it's using the same tech under the hood. And if you've ever seen me talk about those pens, you know I'm kind of a fan. Really nice lines, really responsive pen pressure, all around a good feeling pen. And the rough texture on the screen, it just feels so good. It gives you a lot of grip when you're drawing. I really, really like that. So Brad, about this mixed bag, you said the bag was mixed. Yes, it is. But while the hardware is good and I like it, the software is only like so-so on this device. You can download any Android drawing app that you want onto this thing. So on paper, it seems pretty great. But none of those apps were ever really designed for this kind of display. And because e-ink refreshes so much slower than that LCD display or an OLED display that you find on other Android tablets, you get a lot of lag when you're drawing in like iBez Paint X or Clip Studio Paint or any other drawing app out there. And in that way, that just makes those apps kind of meh, they're just not fun and they're kind of hard to draw in. But the note-taking apps that Boox has developed specifically for their devices feels really, really good to draw in. And that's snappy and responsive. It generally makes this a terrific sketchbook. Now, while it does make for a great sketchbook, compared to traditional drawing apps like iBez and Clip that I mentioned a minute ago, it's missing a lot of the features that you might come to expect from those drawing and painting programs. The ability to change your layer opacity, for example, or really nuanced brushes, or the ability to go in and edit those sorts of things. Those are missing from this app. But if you compare this Notes app to the Notes app you find on the Remarkable or on the Kindle, this one is so much better. The Remarkables one has gotten better. I will give them credit for that. It is closer to this. But this one clearly has like labeled layers and tools like a shape maker with all sorts of other stuff like that in here. There's a full suite of touch gestures here as well. There's long pressing, there's swipe and pinch to zoom. There's an easy way to toggle these on and off right here from this front menu, so you don't have to go digging for that. That's a nice touch. Now, I did mention that the brush tools are a little bit limited here. You have things like a fountain pen, ballpoint pen, the pencil. I really like the pencil. That's probably what I would use the most. Like I said, I think of this as a sketchbook. And so when you have a sketchbook and you're out and about, you're probably just using paper with a pencil and nothing fancy. But here you can get a little bit fancier, right? You could use that pen. You could use a highlighter. Now, the eraser is a little bit like funky. It's not quite as organic feeling as the pencil itself is. It has stroke eraser turned on by default, which for like note taking and that sort of thing is actually pretty nice, right? Because if you're erasing a word, you could just take that eraser and swipe it over the word, and you don't have to erase the entire word. It's just gonna, like, if you clip part of a letter, it's just gonna delete that entire letter. But if you're doing a drawing and you wanna erase like an overshot of a line, like if you draw a square or something and you go to erase the overshot, when you just grab that little overshot, it might erase like the entire side of the box. So you can toggle that over to like another eraser mode that works like a regular eraser. Now, while the pencil has a pretty good refresh rate on it, so when you're drawing with a pencil, you're gonna see the line appear underneath your pencil. That works really well. The eraser works kind of slower, right? So you'll scrub it and you don't necessarily see everything that you're scrubbing until it has a second to like refresh the screen, so it doesn't quite feel as exact to erase with. That can be a little bit cumbersome if you're not used to it. So if you're coming to this with the right mindset, basically that this is a digital sketchbook or a digital notebook, and that this is not a full-blown drawing tablet, you can get a lot of use out of it. And it's a great tool. It's one of the better e-ink displays out there. But I would not recommend this to any other people who are trying to get like finished art out of their device. It's just not playing into this device's strengths. This also comes with a case. When it's closed, it has this flap that keeps the stylus on, which I really liked. This is a good thing because even though the stylus is magnetized to the side, it's not like super hardcore magnetized to the side. It's a little bit loose there. That strap really does help it. You could also fold this cover over to a stand, and it sets up to lie down at a pretty nice drawing angle. The setup to this whole device was kind of different than what I expected. It walks you through like the gestures that you use to like swipe around. Yeah, it's the privacy policy and that sort of stuff that you're used to. It does not set up your Google account. It does not set up your Wi-Fi, and it just doesn't do those things that usually happen when you start up a new like Android tablet or an iPad or something like that. It's not the end of the world because you could just go into settings and use it. But when you're first kind of entering your tablet, there's not a lot you could do with the internet until you actually set it up. If you like the idea of an e-ink tablet, this is one of the best ones that I've tried. I know some people love the Remarkable because it can't do all the things that maybe a tablet like this does. They like the ability to just like focus without being distracted by their email or social media or that sort of thing. Here, I think you get some of the benefits of having that Android ecosystem, and if you don't want those distractions, you just don't have to install them in the first place. If you're coming at this from the point of view of an artist, you're probably better off with a full color Android tablet or an iPad or something like that. But these devices really have grown on me over the last few years. And there's something to be said for a device that's great for reading, easy on the eyes, good for sketching, feels really good with a pencil, and it keeps you from those distractions that maybe other tablets and smartphones are so good at giving us. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I'll talk to you in a couple of days.